Hi, welcome to Quirky Queen's Journals. My name's Kirsten. So I am continuing my watercolour journey. Well, I'm on picture 3, but I'm loving it, and I've never made so much progress with watercolour before. So, as you know, I love the Pepin Press books. So this is a book of flowers that they have. I think there must be over 300 pages in it. You buy it second hand for £3 or £4 on eBay. And they're just stunning shots. On this side, it's even more simplistic, that flower. But I've chosen this one. So obviously it's not going to be an exact copy because I'm not actually very good at that. But it's nice to just kind of take it maybe where it feels like it's going. So this is... It took me long enough, but it's a rough sketch. I'll do the colours first. So I have black and imperial violet, sap green, lemon yellow, yellow ochre, and natural beige. And I'm going to stick to these colours. So I'm just wetting the page first. This is 300 GSM Paul Rubens watercolour paper. It's kind of A4 size. And the reason that I'm using this was it was the best quality but the cheapest. So it was to suit my budget. Let's be brave. Let's go backwards. Also, my paintbrushes, they are round, and I got them from The Range, which is a budget shop in the UK, and I got 10 different sizes for £7, and as far as I'm concerned, they're the best paintbrushes I've ever bought. And I noticed a big difference when I moved over to these brushes, and I am pleased with the quality of them. Obviously, they're still budget brushes, but for me, they've helped me make progress. So, why did I go over that again? Do you know why? Because I've seen a stray hair. Do you know, there hasn't actually been much hair loss from these brushes either. I don't think there's been any. Let's just give it one more. What I might even do is I'll do a second layer as well. Right, I'm going to dry this. Okay, so I've dried it. I'm actually thinking that I really like it kind of being stronger here. So I'm going to do just realised I should have done the whole page just to be right. I'll do it again. The focal point's probably going to be here with the purple and the yellow. So I kind of want the purple at the strongest here. I don't know if I've demonstrated a level of bravery or stupidity. We shall find out. Do you know one thing I do like is how it has cauliflowered a bit, which I am trying to avoid doing that just now so that I can learn to do, you know, obviously that is a technique in itself, but it's one that I achieve very easily. So I'm trying to avoid doing cauliflower type things, but what I'm loving here is how it mirrors the shape of the tulip. So I'm trying a wet on wet technique to sort of shade in the flower in the leaf. You know, this is probably just a bit too advanced for me at this stage with the watercolour, but I just wanted to give it a try. You know, it's all right doing wet on wet with a big block area where you're maybe doing some graduation because it's kind of giving you a bit of focus on what you're doing. But to try and create accents and highlights with the watercolours is, wow, it's extremely difficult. And it's also, I want to do it all like it's acrylic paint. So I just want to keep layering and glazing, which isn't the answer. But I'm not really sure what to do instead of that to create the, you know, the darks and the lights and the sort of form of the flower in the leaf. So any advice will be gratefully received. So I really do enjoy using the watercolours though. There's something quite relaxing about I don't know what it is about it. I think I have to work slower than I do with the acrylic paints. I also notice as well that I hold the brush quite tightly and quite near the bottom of it, and I think it's because I am unsure about you know, putting the colours down, and because they're a wee bit more unpredictable than the acrylics. Where I place the brush isn't necessarily where the paint will end up. It's like toddlers, that watercolour. So here I'm shading the leaf, but this shade of green is far too light and too yellow as well. Once I start bringing the black in, it does make a difference. The black kind of gives the yellow brown tones and it gives the green grey tones in this particular situation. So that's dry before I'm starting on the next layer. I am trying to be very careful about keeping it dry because, you know, once you've done a couple of stages of the watercolour, the last thing you want to do is ruin it because you didn't wait. I wasn't patient enough. So you can see that's a much better shade of green. I think I must have started using the black. I have. I can see it out. So again, I'm just blocking in the colour because I'm not entirely sure. See, when I go to do the darker areas, I've been kind of blocking in the colour but then trying to surround it with sort of water to try and make it more blendable. I suppose it's a bit, how do you blend watercolours without making cauliflowers? And in small areas? I suppose it just comes with practice, doesn't it? I love this colour here. So that is the natural beige with the lemon yellow. Do you know, I'm really glad I left those gaps between the folds of the flower petals. I did it so the colours didn't run into each other, but actually it gave a really nice highlight because that area hadn't had layers of colour put on it already. So with the watercolours, I'm trying to work out, so there's different techniques. Do you use mostly the wet on wet, or the wet on dry, or dry on dry, or other techniques that I'm not fully aware of yet? Do you spend the same level of time on it that you do with acrylics and oil paintings, putting in the details? I have a lot of questions. I need to do more research. So, like I said earlier, any advice and information will be gratefully received. So this is where the flower starts to really take on a vintage dried out look, which I really love. And I actually think in this circumstance, it worked really well. I think that my mistakes would have been a lot more, not obvious, because, what's the word? They wouldn't have blended in so well with a kind of fresh looking flower. The fact that this flower, I suppose, has the texture of a bit dried out and kind of rough edges, and that works in well with the areas where I haven't got the blend right, or, you know, the way it goes from one colour to another. And adding the black into the yellows and the green is what made these two, the flower and the plant, you know, take on this lovely vintage look. So this is me trying to add in accents and creating form, you know, defining kind of the darker areas. And once I've put the colour down, I'll go back to the pot and get water and put it round the outside to just try and make it a bit more natural looking, I suppose. Is that the correct way to do it? How is it that you do add the darker bits in when you're doing watercolours? There is a lot of videos on YouTube, but I suppose the quicker, most popular ones are more orientated towards specific techniques. I really do love how that flower looks. I think the flower is what makes this picture. So I have sped this up to 3.5 times the speed I painted it, and I've also edited out the drying times because it would have been a much longer video. It's like a sage leaf, the big leaf, isn't it? Do you know, I really like watching people doing watercolours where they just, I don't know what they do, it just becomes something so fast. So these are just normal colouring pencils, nothing fancy about them at all. I'm just using these to try and tidy it up a little bit. Just because it's very rough around the edges of the outside, and just trying to define the leaf vein a bit more. I do go round the flower with a brown and yellow colouring pencil, which I regret, especially at the top edge of the flower, because I think in the leaf it works okay, it blends in enough, but with the flower the colour difference is too much. It actually does, they do work in the leaf, they do tidy the leaf up a bit, but I just feel with the flower it looks too much like a penciled in outline, which is what it is. I did think about using the ink on it, you know, the black pen, but I just thought it would ruin the kind of vintage look of it. See the brown and yellow pencil round the outside, especially of the top edge. I feel it's took away the delicateness of the flower petals, which is a shame. Because the leaf was, like in the photograph I showed you, the leaf was sturdier than the flower. So it did have kind of vertical veins, and so I have added these in, but I have muted them down, as you'll see in a minute. One part of the watercolours, though, is like the acrylic painting. It's hard to know when to stop, because you just think, oh, I could just add in this bit here and this bit here. Because this looks so old and vintage and dried out, it makes this purple look more velvety, and the contrast is beautiful. Oh, I'm really pleased with it. So I did use some colouring pencils to go around outside, and you can actually see it there, and I do have some regret, but at the same time I haven't mastered having the lines tidy enough on the outside yet. It's not even about being able to paint it tidily, it still does a little cauliflower out the way, even though this is dry. And it'll just be, I maybe need to be using a much finer brush, I don't know. But anyway, I'm really pleased with that, but that was really hard work. I think I'm lucky how these turned out, but I don't know if I'm quite ready for that stage of shading in lots of different shades in the one area yet, because that's the sort of stuff I really want to learn from this. But anyway, I'm loving it. That is honestly going to go into a junk journal. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed, and I hope to see you soon. Thanks for watching.